in the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.'" Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Well, here's the thing about the wise men. There's really no way they should have been a part of this story. Their arrival in this tale is unexpected. It's really completely out of left field. The story of Jesus' birth is strange enough for sure. Angel announcement of a virgin birth, Mary open to the will of God, Joseph trying to do the right thing. Luke's gospel has the shepherds arriving at the manger that night. But that picture at least makes a little bit of sense. Poor man and woman in a tattered stable, surrounded by lowly shepherds. But here in Matthew, when the wise men enter, it's like they've wandered onto the wrong movie set. What business do strange astrologers from the East have in this story? This is supposed to be the story about the one who will save his people from their sins, about the one who comes to shepherd God's people, Israel. What does that have to do with foreign sages following a star? Well, quite a lot, apparently. Because the other thing about the wise men is this: they get it. They get who Jesus is. And they realize how they are supposed to respond to him. And that means that there's this obvious contrast at work here. On the one hand, there's King Herod, the king of the Jews. He's the head of the nation of God's covenant people, so to speak. And around him, he's got assistants and chief priests and scribes. And yet, all of them are completely caught off guard by the birth of Jesus. They had all the information and all the expectations, and they didn't even see it coming. But the wise men, on the other hand, who had none of the background story, didn't even know what God was supposed to do, didn't even know or believe in this God, wouldn't have expected anything. They see, and they know, and they come and find the child and worship him. Isn't that amazing? And isn't it also a little scary. Scary? Why scary? Well, because if we were in this story, you and me, we'd probably be with Herod and his group, wouldn't we? What I mean is, we know the story well. We think we do, at least. Like, how many of us came to Christmas Eve worship and heard it? Wonderful, beautiful, familiar story made us feel good. And yet, what if there was someone who came that night, wandered into church, who didn't know anything about God? And what if they understood better than us who Jesus is? You see, this is the startling thing about the Epiphany. Epiphany means a revealing, an eye-opening aha moment. And this one, this Epiphany that happens in Matthew chapter 2 is experienced by foreigners, by outsiders, by heathens. They were the ones, the wise men, who saw the light and believed in Jesus. Years ago, when I was a pastor in Virginia, there was a unique man who worshiped with us on Sundays. The church was located on a busy urban street, and so we had a number of worshipers who walked to church. One of those was a young man named John. And John was unique for a couple of reasons. First, he was nonverbal. He probably could talk a little bit, but he almost never did. The second thing is that John wore very interesting things to church. One of his favorite accessories was a shiny pink motorcycle helmet, which he would wear into the sanctuary on Sunday morning. Now, I'm not telling you this to make fun of John or anything. He was a precious soul, and the congregation welcomed and loved him. But he did look like someone who had wandered onto the wrong movie set. One Sunday, it was the culmination of a fundraising project, a big appeal the church was doing for new construction projects. Everyone was asked to make a financial pledge to support the work. Most members of the congregation came forward in worship and placed their gifts and pledges in a basket by the baptismal font. And there came John down the aisle and placed his gift in the basket too. Now, I'm not sure what he put there exactly. Something small, maybe a little gold or frankincense or myrrh. Placed it there, this man who was wise enough to realize that he too wanted to respond in worship to the Christ made known to him. If God is in the business of epiphanies, of revealing Jesus and making himself known, then these aha moments, they must be open to all who seek and all who wander. The good news of Christmas, the good news of Epiphany, is that Jesus comes to be Christ for all the world, even those we would never expect to be a part of the story. If we're going to make New Year's resolutions of some sort, then perhaps among them might be this. Try to be like the wise men, curious, open to seeing the light and the movement of God in the world, and open to seeing the Christ who reigns in the lives of others as well. Amen.